Okay, good morning everyone. So I believe I'm seeing the same set of students to whom I taught the AFLL course. I think it is 4A, 4B. I believe the same sections were there earlier as well. Okay, so if you are not familiar who I am, this is how I look. My name is Dr. Karthik S, working as an associate professor in the Department of Computer Science. Are you able to see my video screen as well as are you able to hear me properly? Are there any issues? Anyone? You can type in your comment in the chat box like we did it in the last class. No issues. Okay. So one thing is clear that you're able to hear me and see me. Right. The first day itself participation is very poor. I'm just seeing roughly about 70-80% attendance. What happened to rest of the people? Okay, so we are going to discuss a particular course called UE 19 CS 254, stands for operating system. So this is going to be the course about which we are going to discuss. I'm pretty sure as a computer science engineers, you'll be knowing what exactly is an operating system. Uh, so we will try to understand what are we going to study in this particular course and what is the expectation out of this particular course. Before that, did you all receive your results yesterday? Is it good? You can switch on your mic one by one and you can share your experiences. Let's keep it a little more interactive. Are you all here or you just left the meeting after signing in? Okay, couple of comments here. Lesser than expected. It was okay. Right, so I'm seeing some 2-3 responses, especially automata. Okay. Akshat Jain, you not yet received your results. Okay, those who have not received your result, it could be because of library dues or the fee dues. Please get in touch with the corresponding department. I think by now your class teachers would have shared you a list who are having library dues and who are having accounts due. If you have not seen that particular email, please check your mail. If you have not received that particular email, please go and harass your class teacher to get that. And once you see where your name appears, you have to report to the concerned department. If it is library due, please return any of your books that you have borrowed from library. If it is accounts due, they are not saying that you have not paid it, they are not able to trace that particular fee amount. So please give them a clarification like who in from, what is the UTR number, which bank, who is the remitter name and so on. So they'll be able to track it. And once it is done, the examination section will release your results. Don't worry about it. Everybody's result has been computed. Automata below expectations. Okay. Automata exam seemed easy, but I don't know why some did not get marks. Okay, I also felt the same thing. Automata paper was so easy. It was all straightforward, nothing tricky. You just think for a minute or so, you'll be able to do it. Anyway, those of you feel that you have received less mark, apply for review of your paper, see what was the expected answer, what you wrote, and how much marks you got it for individual question. Many a times I see that students think that whatever things they have written is all correct, but examiners have a different expectations. You see, as per their expectation, do you deserve better marks? If so, definitely revaluation is open for you. You can apply for that particular thing as well. I suggest you to do the review for all the subjects, right? At least you'll come to know what was expected. That gets you a feel of the department, like, going forward, how to present your answers. You might know 100 things, but when you're writing in an examination, you may not have organized it well, or you might have missed some points which might be very crucial for those things. I strongly suggest you to go through that particular review of answer script. That gets you an fair idea of what is expected from each question, so that fourth and onwards you can basically try to understand what need to be written, and you can do justice for those exams. Okay, so let's get into this particular subject. I'll not be starting with the actual syllabus because many are yet to join. Will give them benefit of doubt that they might be struggling to join this particular connection, or somebody's connection might be low. Even in fact, I myself had an issue there. So in my calendar, whatever link it was showing, when I tried to join, it was showing only 3 people initially, and then it became 5. It's like wondering what happened. Then when I checked with the technical team, they said, no, we will send you a call notice, you join there. After doing that, I'm able to see 40 odd people. I don't know, many of you might be having the similar issue, or I'm assuming those 40 who did not join might have this particular kind of issue. Anyway, post this class, I'll just sit with them and try to figure out what went wrong to fix out that particular issue. At least from tomorrow, we should not have these kind of problems. Right? So let's get back to our subject, operating system. What exactly is an operating system? Why do we need to study this particular course? As a primary question somebody need to ask before even they start, studying a particular subject. Like, why is it even required? Why are PES University is asking us to study this particular course? It's just not PES University. You go and take a look into the curriculum of any undergrad course on computer science. They'll definitely have a course on operating system. The level of treatment could be different depending on the university, depending on the course, and so on, but all of them will definitely have a course on operating system. So that always gives me a question in my mind, why this particular operating system need to be studied? What is the importance of this particular subject? What do I am going to get out of studying this particular subject? What do I get out of this? Right, okay, let me tell you, this is the first time I'm teaching this particular subject. I had studied this particular subject 10 years ago, when I was maybe 10 plus years ago, when I was a student there. So you can be very open with me. I am as bad or as good as you now. So we both are studying together. You can, imagine that we are all friends and having some kind of discussion here. Okay. So since I'm also a student like you now, I am getting this particular question in my mind. Why should we study operating system? Have you all heard a term called operating system, or in short we call it as OS? Have you heard of this particular term? Okay, yes, you have heard this particular term. Then the question is, now today we are saying that you study this particular thing. Don't give me an answer that yeah, you need to get a degree. That is definitely true. But if the officials are saying, your academic professors are saying that you need to study this particular subject, it is important, then there could be some reason why they are stressing on it. So I'm just trying to figure out what is that particular some reason why they are asking you to study. So you all heard this particular term. So what do you understand by this particular term, OS or operating system? If you are lazy to type your answer, if it is too lengthy, then probably you can switch on your mic and explain. That is also fine. Okay, Arnav has responded to see the behavior of our program with respect to different system processes. Good. Forms a basis of software we design. Excellent. It is an interface between user and machine. Wow. Okay. Any other responses? So that's what you mean to say by an operating system. Okay, it's how machine understand user commands. Okay, good. Now, but why should I study this? That's all fine. Whatever points you said is all, I completely agree with it. It's all correct. Operating system does all these particular tasks, but why should I study it? It's a platform to run our program. Correct. Perfectly right. Why, as a computer science engineering student, I need to study this particular course? System software which manages computer software and hardware resources. Aditya, yes, correct. To use computer efficiently. Anirudh Joshi. Okay, what do you mean by using computer efficiently? That means to say switch on only when it is required and shut it down later. We need to understand how we optimize the CPU time for our task. Wow, okay. To understand the grounds on which program runs, to come up with efficient way of using hardware to its full potential, so that one studies it can detect fault in the system if any and fix it with great ease. Wow, that's good. Anurag. Okay. Believe it or not, I am seeing there are so many engineers graduating every year to control process that can run and troubleshoot. Okay, good. Believe it or not, I am seeing so many computer science engineering graduating every year. Okay, so you might also experience something very similar to this at your native place, or when you go to some village, or when you talk to some elderly people. You know, the image of you is very high at the moment you say I'm doing BTech in computer science, and then eventually they start getting some kind of question with respect to computer science, and they'll ask you those things. Something like, okay, this I'm planning to buy a laptop. Can you suggest i3 is better or i7 is better? If i7 is faster, why is it faster? How is it going to make a difference? Or which operating system should I install in my system? Should I go for Windows? Should I go for Linux? Or should I go for Apple? So all these kinds of questions will be thrown at you. Or worst thing, you revisit a relative's place, their system is faulty for some reason, it is not turning on, and they think, okay, you are computer science engineer, can you repair this for me? I'm sure you might have faced all such kinds of questions by now. So everybody thinks that you are a computer science engineer, you are studying about computer science, so you will be knowing the answer for these questions. You know how to fix a system which is resisting to boot. You can explain them the difference between an i3 processor, i7 processor, or parallel computing or something like that, right? Okay, sorry, there was some crosstalk. Okay, so they were expecting answers for these kinds of questions, but the sad reality is 90% of the computer science engineer cannot answer such questions. Okay, you don't have to tell me whether you know the answer or not in an open forum, but you can always ask yourself, if such a question is thrown at me, do I know an answer to these questions? Have I acquired enough knowledge to answer these particular questions? Right? Suppose your friend who is from a non-IT background comes to you and says that, can you install an operating system into my system? Are you in a position to do it? Do you know what need to be done if you want to install an operating system? Okay. Or can you tell which operating system is better? Should I go with Windows 10, Windows 7, Windows 2003, Linux, or whatever it is? So can I tell them the exact differences, that this operating system behaves like this is what does a Linux do, this is what Windows 10 do, and for your purpose of usage you need to go with this kind of operating system? Are we in a position to tell answer such questions? Are we in a position to advise them based on their requirement? But sad reality is no. So if at all you want to get an understanding of what an operating system does, and by knowing these things, if you want to confidently answer their queries, then the thing that you need to do is you need to study this particular course seriously. Okay, for me, heart is a very important organ for a human being, because this is going to supply the blood to different organs, and it is making sure that I am alive here. An engine is very important in case of a particular vehicle, because that's the one which is going to provide this required energy and speed in order to run a particular machine or a vehicle, right? Similar to that, if you want to run a particular computer effectively, efficiently, then we require something very similar to a heart or an engine. And that particular component, in case of computer, be it a desktop, be it a laptop, or be it a mobile device, it is what is called as operating system. Okay, Anurag rightly said OS is the soul of the computer. Now, while talking this, I got some doubt. I mean, I'm telling you openly, I'm telling you, I'm also like a student like you. So it, gave me a thought. I'm asking you this particular question. If you know an answer, you can provide that particular knowledge to me. Do we have an operating system running in computers as well? Sorry, mobile phones as well? Or it could be a tablet that people use. Does that also have an operating system, or is it running only on a computer or a laptop? Of course they do, yes. Okay, good. A bunch of people know that. Yeah, Android is also an operating system over there. So even these particular mobiles, tablet, which we are using on a day-to-day basis, Along with laptops, desktop, and other kinds of computers, these systems also have an operating system running in them, which is basically making sure that everything runs fine in those corresponding devices. Okay, so that is what is an operating system. So without heart I cannot live, without an engine I cannot run a particular vehicle. Similarly, without operating system I cannot run an as specified an electronic device over there. So operating system is very important for us to run that particular thing. Not just run, it wants to run smoothly and correctly. Okay. So now this is what we are going to study in this particular course. This is the detailed syllabus for this particular subject. It's a 4 credit course and we are planning to cover about roughly 56 hours for this particular course. In addition to this, I hope you are able to see my screen, right? And effectively you will be evaluated based on ISA 1, ISA 2, and this subject also has an assignment component. Okay, so the weightage for the assignment component is going to be 15 marks. So the rest of the marks come from your test over there. All right. So what kind of assignment when we do these particular assignment and so on, we will intimate you from time to time over there. Yes, Anirudh, you are right. It's a Mac OS, not the Apple. Apple machine runs on the Mac OS. You are right. Okay. So this is what you are going to study here. The course objective is to focus on the fundamentals of operating system concept, and it provides an understanding of various components of the operating system. So there are different level of details that need to be discussed. So all that discussions will take place in this particular course. The course deeper into various algorithm and associated trade-offs for efficient resource management. So when I have to manage all my resources within the operating system, then I need to have some kind of algorithm which can do a systematic way of working. So we are going to look into a set of such algorithms over there, and of course as with all solution, these algorithms will also come with some benefit and they also come with some disadvantages. So we are going to study that particular part as well. So in terms of resource management, memory management, and disk management, and so on. So this is also going to discuss in terms of the design principles of the operating system. We are going to have some kind of case studies wherein we look into the details of what was considered in developing different OS softwares over there. And we also give an introduction about security, protection, and virtualization of the OS over there. So this is what is the course objective. Now, unit wise, this is what we are going to study. In unit 1, we basically look into the introduction of operating system and all about process management. So introduction basically talks about what is OS, definitions, and so on and so forth. And once that is done, we get into processes. Okay, so basically what is a process? It's a very simple thing. Suppose I want to play a music in my laptop, so I open a particular song and double click on it. It starts playing that particular mp3 song, let us say. So in turn, what is basically happening is the moment I do a double click, a process is getting created which is handling the job of playing that particular song and delivering that particular sound in my speaker over there. Okay, So that is what is basically a process. Anything that I try to do it, a process gets created internally and it will handle that particular thing. Suppose I open a MS Word and start typing it, again it creates a process. If I open an Excel, it again creates a process. If I open let us say a particular game that you are installed in your system, that once again creates a process and so on. Okay. So when I have multiple processes in my OS, they should not fight with each other for resources, right? So I need to have some kind of control on those processes. That is what is going to be seen in unit 1. How do I manage my processes so that they utilize these particular resources in a effective manner? All right. So everything cannot play on a speaker, or everything cannot capture all kinds of resources. We need to put a restriction that this is the order in which your resources can be captured and used, and then you have to release them. So we will put this particular some kind of scheduling algorithm for the processes, and that is what is going to be seen in unit 1. You can see here some of the scheduling algorithm: first come first serve scheduling, shortest job first, and then we also have preemptive, non-preemptive mode, priority scheduling, round robin scheduling, and so on. So all these kinds of scheduling algorithm is basically talking about how these processes are going to be managed internally by the operating system. So that's the crux of unit 1. Unit 2, we talk about threads and concurrency. Multiple things are going to be run and executed parallelly. So they are done with the help of what are called as a threads. So how these multiple tasks, multitasking basically happen, and how is they are simultaneously getting executed? How do we synchronize their movement is going to be discussed in unit 2 with the help of threads and concurrency unit over there. And there might be a situation what is called as a deadlock. Suppose there are three resources. Process 1 captures, let us say, resource 1 and 3, and it is waiting for resource 2, whereas another process 2 has already captured resource 2 and it is waiting for resource 3. Then basically both of them cannot complete their operation because they have got something and they are waiting for something which is not going to be available because the other process has already captured those resources. So this situation will will be called as a deadlock here, because none of them can complete their job, right? So it's a standstill position, which is very, very bad for an operating system. So we are going to look into how these kind of deadlocks going to be occurring, and how can we try to prevent it, and how can we detect as well. So detecting is one thing, preventing is another thing. So we are going to come up with some techniques which will address this particular detection and prevention of deadlocks over there. So that's going to be the part of unit 2. Unit 3 talks about memory management. So there are basically two types of memory: primary memory and secondary memory. So in unit 3, we are going to talk about the primary memory, that is the virtual memory, how do we do it, and so on. Say, let us say we want to load the data of all the COVID or all the end users who have installed, let us say, Arogya Setu app. So even if I go with a conservative estimation, about 50 crore people might be using Arogya Setu app, and every day their data has been captured and analyzed and so on. So all this data is basically a huge amount of data. So my primary memory is not sufficient to handle all this data at once. It cannot load everything into a cache memory at once. So there need to be a mechanism wherein it can load a part of it and take out that when it is not required, and load another part of the data and do the execution and so on. That's what we call it as paging here. And the concept of virtual memory comes into picture. And when I have paging, There are once again a set of algorithm which will handle this process of getting something into the system and taking them out of the system. The page replacement algorithms, a bunch of such algorithm we are going to study in Unit 3. Unit 4 talks about the storage management, the secondary memory over here. There is a disk which is going to store the information permanently. How well that particular memory be managed so that there is going to be minimum wastage of the memory over there is going to be the idea of Unit 4. And lastly, Unit 5 talks about IO management, that is input and output devices management and so on. So if you look at the broader level, the operating system is going to talk about three important things. One is handling the processes and threads. Second one is handling the memory, which is nothing but a memory management, be it primary or secondary. And thirdly, it is going to handle the input output devices. So these are the three main important tasks that is done by the operating system. So we are going to focus on these three important tasks itself in a span of 5 units over there. Okay. So it is desirable to have a knowledge of the data structures and application, but it is not a prerequisite. So don't worry about that particular thing. So some of the places wherein we talk about queues, tags, and so on. So knowing that particular thing is very important to understand it effectively. Right, so we have one textbook for this particular course, that is Sylvesters and Galvin 9th edition. This is the latest one that is available in the market. So you can look for this particular textbook. I strongly advise you to buy this particular book, or else try to get a PDF version or the ebook of it. Definitely this is going to help you when in terms of attending placements and so on. Just give me a minute. Okay, so that's exactly what is going to be studied in this particular course over there. I strongly suggest you to get this particular book. It is going to be helpful even during your placements as well as higher studies. If anybody wants to do a higher studies, there once again you might have some kind of repetition, or a part of the book might be useful. This is like a bible of the operating system, has pretty much covered all the basic components that is required for an introductory course on the operating system, as well as the book is very well written manner. It is easily readable and understandable thing. Okay, so it's better to have this particular book as part of your personal collection. Right, that's about the introductory part, and these are a couple of other books which is good to read depending on certain topics over there. William Stallings is another very good book on the operating system. You can even have a look into this. Not necessary to buy this, but yeah, maybe when you are in campus you can just borrow this particular book, and you can try to refer them. The last one, Andrew S. Tannenbaum, Modern Operating System. This is also a very good book on the operating system. So you can even try to refer to these particular books as well in order to cover some of the topics in details. Right? So that's about what we are going to study in this particular course. So if you have any concerns, doubts, you can ask me. I'm not going to teach you how to install an operating system, but I strongly suggest you to learn that particular thing, because as a computer science engineer you should not be dependent on somebody who can come and install these things for you. You should know how to do it. Maybe if we get some time towards the end of the course, we'll have a session wherein we'll just try to demonstrate that particular thing, so that at least one type of OS you should be in a position to install it by yourself. If there are no other doubts, thank you very much. I hope the participation will increase in terms of both quality as well as number from the next class. We will jump into the introductory unit 1 of this particular course. Okay. As usual, if you have some doubts at a later point, you can drop that particular email to this mail ID. I have typed it and shared it here, karthik@pes.edu. So I'm little tight in running my schedule, so there could be delays in the reply time in which you get the reply, but please bear with me. Right? Okay, then see you in the next class. Thank you.